the forests. And he heard a voice from the clouds. He heard a voice from the clouds saying, go and water the farm of a certain person. So he starts to follow the clouds. And he sees the water, the cloud raining upon a specific stony stream. And all the water gathers in that stream and it flows in a certain direction. He follows the water and he brings him to a farm where a man is using the water to irrigate his crops. So this is from the karamat. These are from the miracles. The man heard a voice from the cloud and he followed the cloud. And the voice told the cloud to go and irrigate this man's farm. So he gets to this man's farm and he asks him his name. And the farmer tells him his name and it's the same name that he hears in the cloud. So the farmer asks him, why did you ask me my name? And he narrates to him the story that he heard a voice in the cloud. The cloud was told to come and irrigate your farm. So the man said, now that you have seen that and you have witnessed that for yourself, and you want to know why it happened, he gave the answer. He said, I give whatever profits I get from this farm, I give 1/3 in charity, I keep 1/3 for my family, and the remaining 1/3 I invest it back into the farm. Now again, there are many lessons that we can take from this story. About the karamat of the awliya, about gratitude, about farming, about tawakkul, about charity. There's so many different things that we can extract from this narration. Today I want us to focus specifically on the aspect of tawakkul, the aspect of trusting Allah. You see, in the modern world, there's a lot of obsession on results. In a capitalistic world, our obsession is always on getting results. We want more profits, we want more viewers, we want more followers, we want more and more. And when we don't get the results that we want, we are disappointed. You see, the problem with the modern mindset is that we focus on what is outside of our control, not what is within our control. It's not within your control whether a project will be successful or not. It's not within your control whether your business is going to be profitable or not. The farmer mindset teaches us to focus on what is within our control. What do we mean by this? Let's break down the analogy. What does a farmer do? The farmer will focus on 3 things primarily. He will focus, number 1, on choosing the right environment. This means the season must be right, the soil must be right, everything must be right for planting. Right? Then planting the seed that he wants. If he wants a certain type of crop, that's the type of seed he's going to plant. And then doing the work, which is irrigation and everything else needed for the plant to grow. But that's all the farmer can do. Beyond that, whether that seed actually grows into that plant, only Allah controls. Only Allah controls the weather, natural disasters, bugs, or even if it's just whether a dead seed, a seed that didn't grow, right? You have no control over this. So to some extent, a farmer has to do a little bit of work, 3 levels of work, and then for the rest of it, he just has to make dua and put his tawakkul in Allah. And that's why it is the job of tawakkul. Farming is a tawakkul-based job. You do your work for a few months, you wait for a few months, and you have a specific season whether you're either going to be profitable or not for that year. And everything depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, what I want us to do today is to take this analogy and to apply it to other aspects of our life. You see, the benefit of the farming mindset is 2. Number 1, contentment. You learn to accept what Allah has written for you. And you learn to accept that certain things are outside your control. This is contentment. Number 2, reducing anxiety. One of our main sources of anxiety today is worrying about things in the future that we have no control over. We worry about World War III, we worry about who our children are going to grow up to be, what the cost of living is going to be 50 years from now. We worry about things that we have absolutely no control over. When you adopt a farming mindset to any aspect of your life, your heart can be more relaxed, and you will be more content, and you will be focused on that which is within your control, not that which is outside of your control. Let's take this now and apply it to 3 different aspects of our life. So we said the farmer focuses on 3 things: the right environment, the right seed, and doing whatever is within his ability to make that seed grow. Beyond that, it's dua and tawakkul. Let's take the same thing. Example number 1, parenting. One of the main sources of anxiety today is parenting. Who will my children grow up to be? What kind of people will they grow up to be? And we know in Islam there is no guarantees when it comes to parenting. You can be the best of parent and your child can still grow up to be the worst of people. There is no guarantee. So what do? Some people they become so anxious about the future that they try to control every aspect of their child's life. And when you try to control every aspect of your child's life, you end up creating more problems, right? Some of them go to the opposite extreme. They're like, there's no guarantees, what's the point? They just let their child do what they want, they grow up how they want. This is not the Islamic way. The Islamic way is, again, we go back to the three things. The right environment, the right seed, and what's within your control. So number one, you choose the right environment. Where do you raise your children? Whether it's choosing a country, a city, a neighborhood, what your home environment is like, what school you send them to, you make these decisions. This is the environment in which that seed is going to grow. That's something within your control. You choose the right environment for parenting. Number two, you plant the right seed. And by seed, the analogy of the seed is your intention. Why are you raising a child? Are you raising a child just because the child ended up in your life by mistake and you got no choice to raise that child? Are you just going with the flow? Everybody else has children, so you also have children. Why are you raising a child? As a Muslim, you should be very intentional. I am raising the next generation of this ummah to serve this ummah, to worship Allah, to help solve the problem of the ummah, to be of benefit to the ummah. This is why you are raising children. There must be intentionality in how we raise our children and why we raise our children. And so you need to have the right intention, you need to choose the right environment, and then you irrigate the seed. What do you mean by irrigate the seed? You do the work of parenting. You do your best job of parenting. But at a certain extent, you have to just make dua and put your tawakkul in Allah, because the child gets to a certain age where you no longer control them. Your child gets to a certain age where now they are responsible to Allah for their choices and their actions. And from that point onwards, all you can do is advise them. And that's where the tawakkul comes in. That's where you have to accept certain things are within my control. I can have good intentions in parenting. I can be the best parent that I can be. I can put my child in the best environment possible. But beyond that, certain things are outside my control. And when it comes to things outside of my control, trust Allah. Put your tawakkul in Allah and make dua to Allah and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second example is business. We have a lot of anxiety about business. Am I going into the right business? Is it going to be profitable? What if I go bankrupt? You take the same approach. You choose the right environment. Then choosing the right location. You look at where do I open, what's the right time, is it a good time to open a business? You look at all of that in terms of the environment. You have the right intention. You are starting a business to A, earn halal income, 2, to benefit the ummah. This is something that's lost in capitalism. In capitalism, we start businesses just to get rich and just to make more money. In Islam, you start a business to benefit people. You serve a product or a service that is of benefit to others. You make people's lives better. Even if all you're doing is cooking food, right? If that food that you have in your restaurant or your takeaway makes people happy and brings joy to their life, that's a service to the ummah. That's something good, that's something beneficial. Right? You do things to help others. You do things to make this world a better place. And yes, you make a profit in the process. So number one, you choose the right environment. You have a good intention for starting your business, the right products, and then you do the work. Every day you show up and you work hard. You have your goals, you have your plans, you have your strategies, and you work hard. By the end of the day, whatever comes your way for that day or that month, was your qadr for that day and that month. And you have to be content with it, and you have to accept it. There's a certain aspect of business that is outside your control. Allah decides who makes how much money. Allah decides who's going to get wealthy and who's not going to get wealthy. So at some level, you have to put in the work, and then you have to make dua, and you have to trust Allah. One last example is if you are starting an Islamic project. Nowadays, when people start Islamic projects, they focus on results. They start a YouTube channel, they want 1 million subscribers. Right? They open an Islamic center and they want a certain number of people attending. 700 people must attend the lectures, or 1,000 people must attend the lectures. And then they get disappointed when they don't get the numbers that they want. Because the intention is wrong. The focus is wrong. You're focusing on things you can't control. Number one, you choose the right location, the right project for the right place. Number two, your intention should be 2 things. Number one, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, to benefit the ummah. These should be your intentions. Doesn't matter if 10 people are benefiting or 1,000 people are benefiting. You do it for the sake of Allah. And number 3, you show up and you do the best job possible. Now, one of my teachers used to say, you know you have good intentions if you are giving the same quality lecture in front of 5 people that you would give in front of 5,000 people. You don't reduce the quality because of the size of the crowd. And this is a major problem today, that people are so obsessed with numbers and so obsessed with what is outside their control that they end up sabotaging their own da'wah because they're not getting the numbers that they want. When you are doing Islamic work, you need to focus on having the right intentions, choosing the right project for the right place, and then doing the best job that you can for the sake of Allah, and you leave the rest to Allah. It will reach who it needs to reach, and the reward will come to you. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it changed one person's life or 1,000 people's lives, as long as it's done sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the farming mindset. This is something that we should have in mind in every aspect of our life. There are things within our control, there are things outside our control. You focus on what is within your control and do the best job possible on that, and everything else you make dua and you leave the rest to Allah and you put your trust in Allah. If we live like this, we will have more contentment, we will have more inner peace, we will reduce our anxiety, and we'll have more barakah in our results. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعد أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. I showed you 5 steps on how to do this. We said that to do well in any aspect of life, to have contentment and inner peace and tawakkul and barakah, you need a farming mindset. How do you do that? I'll share 5 simple tips. Number 1, for every aspect of your life, have good intentions. Renew the niyyah, the intentions of everything you do. From parenting, to marriage, to business, to work, Islamic projects, whatever it is, always have noble intentions. You do everything for the sake of Allah and do it to benefit the ummah, and this will attract barakah into what you do. Doesn't matter whether it's a business, doesn't matter whether it's a marriage, doesn't matter whether it's just helping your neighbor, always have good intentions. This will bring barakah into what you do. Number 2, always work on self-improvement. Keep getting better at what you do. Keep trying to become better. You go into business, keep studying to be a better businessman. You are raising children, keep learning how to be a better parent. You're trying to make a marriage work, keep learning how to be a better husband or wife. You're giving lectures, or you are teaching, or you are writing. Get better at your craft. Continuously improve. If you are focused on continuously becoming better at what you do, you will have better results than those who just, stay mediocre and stay at that level for life. You need to get better at what you do. And you need to continuously focus on self-improvement. Number 3, focus on the quality of what you do, not on the results. Focus on doing quality work, don't focus on the results. What do you mean by focus on doing quality work and not focusing on the results? There are things outside your control and there are things within your control. Focus on what is within your control. You cannot control how many people will come to your shop today. But you can control the quality of your products. You can control the quality of your service. You can control the environment of your business. You can control the fact that you are doing good work in a way that is pleasing to Allah and beneficial to your community. You can focus on the quality, but you can't control the end result. But if you focus on doing good quality work in every aspect of your life, the results will be blessed. Even if they are few, they will be blessed. So focus on being the best you can at everything that you do. Number 4, when it comes to that which is outside of your control, when it comes to that which you have no control over, whether it's your profits, whether it's your children after they grow up, whether your spouse actually loves you or not, because Allah controls the heart, right? There are things that you don't control in this world. When it comes to these things, do 2 things: dua and tawakkul. Dua and tawakkul. If you make dua and you put your tawakkul in Allah, then Allah will give you the results that are best for you, even if it's not what you wanted. You have to, at some point, trust that Allah knows best. And you're not always going to get what you want in this world, but you are going to get what is best for you in this world. And finally, the final lesson that we can take from the farmer mindset to help us to adapt it and live a more tawakkul-focused life: focus on long-term projects, not on short-term results. We live in the age of instant gratification. People want things now, and they want things that only they benefit themselves. People have this "what's in it for me" mindset. This is not the Islamic way. The Islamic way is to focus on the ummah, to focus on what benefits the ummah. If you start a project today that 100 or 200 years down the line benefits the ummah, then that is better for you than almost anything else you can do with your life. But we don't think like this anymore. We want everything instantly. You know, a common farming analogy that always comes up is, you will have a man who will plant a seed, and he knows he's never going to see that tree in his lifetime. But 100 years later, his great-grandchild will be sitting under that tree and making dua for him for having planted it. Sometimes the seeds that we plant only come back to benefit us or benefit this ummah 100 years later. And we see this with the early Muslims. They did things that were not going to benefit them in their lifetime, but they planted seeds that will benefit this ummah for a long, long time. Think about when Rasulullah ﷺ was passing away, and he said that the army of Usama must go forward. Why was this so important? He was planting a seed. What was the mission of the army of Usama? To liberate Palestine and make it part of the Muslim Empire. This was the goal. This was the end goal. Obviously, everything between Medina and Palestine had to be liberated first. But the end goal was, we have 3 harams. One of them is in the Roman Empire. It needs to become part of ours. So this was not going to be accomplished in his lifetime. But he still planted the seed, at which in a few years it was accomplished. We see even longer term projects. In the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, he started the project of developing Islamic Spain, of turning Spain into a better land, making it, studying the land and figuring out what can we do with this land. And that project only bore fruit 100 years later. 100 years later, long after Umar ibn Abdul Aziz had passed away, the Umayyads had turned Spain into the greatest civilization in Europe. But it started when he planted that seed 100 years before that. And so this is the mindset we need to have. Stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on projects that benefit the ummah. Stop looking for the shortcuts. Start looking for ways that you can plan long term to benefit this ummah. Start a project today that will be beneficial for the ummah 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. What this means is, even if we pass away suddenly, the continuous reward of that project will continue to pile up on our good deeds and be barakah into our afterlife long after we have left this world. And so this is the farming mindset, that we live our lives with tawakkul. We don't focus on what is outside our control. We don't have anxiety about what's outside our control. We focus on what's within our control. Our intentions, our environment, the amount of work we put in, and then after that it's dua and tawakkul. And we are content with whatever the results that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us are, and we accept the results Allah sends our way. And this is, if we do this in every aspect of our life, we will find more contentment, we will find less anxiety, and we will find more barakah in the results. And so let us take this analogy and apply it to the different aspects of our life. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وأغننا بفضلك عمن سواك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين يقيم الصلاة